Good evening. Welcome to our second artist talk. Today we have an architect, a world traveler, and an artist and migrant, Cesar Ceballos. And this is the event that is accompanying our exhibition Migracje Migrations. And my name is Agnes Vludyka, and I'm the main curator of the exhibition and part of the WMA, which is the Virtual Museum of Anthropocene. And before we start, I just wanted to remind everyone that our exposition is accessible via our website, wma.museum. Under Wystawa exhibition, and that exhibition is on Kunstmatrix. And if you could just read the instructions, it would be a much smoother experience. And if you have today any comments or any questions to our artist, Cesar, please write them down on Facebook and I will read them later on. So hi, Cesar. It's so lovely to see you again. I have to say that Cesar cooperated with us at the previous exhibition, Endless Hunger. And it's lovely to have him again. And thank you for sending your artworks and thank you for joining us tonight for our talk. And I would like to ask you first about the Ukraine's Exodus Bridge that you started to make last year, even before the escalation of the war in Ukraine. And I just wanted to ask you about this. What was your motivation? What did you want to achieve? And why did you use the materials that you used?
Oh, thank you.
And I'm going to show it on our screens. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, hello everyone, and of course to Agnes and Magda, who's shadowing the process with you. Thank you for this great opportunity and for me to be here in this great interview that essentially it's a worldwide, I would say, because I don't speak other languages. So I'd like to talk about the painting on the screen. And it's the bridge to salvation for the Ukrainians, as you know, at the moment, had sufferings due to the invasion by Russia. And what inspired me, the fact that I always want to paint something that's relevant and also deals with advocacy towards humanity. All of us, it's our time. It's like documenting the events and the moments that changes the direction of humanity. Because really no one knows about the future. So what inspired me initially was the news that the Russian military, I should say, are gearing up or building up military force in the border. I think it's on the east side. And I suspected that something will happen. But one of the things that also drove me as an inspiration, in the negative way, but in a enlightening way, the fact that we still have the pandemic and the Russians military waiting for the pandemic to go away, or they just can't wait. So that sort of became my inspiration to paint that something of news for everyone else. But of course, I picked the bridge because when I look at the map, I could draw borders of land, but I thought that the bridge might be a good depiction of sort of the transformation of life, because a bridge would always say an element or a person or an animal travels from one point to the other. I don't have to explain, I don't have to draw it in a way, I just draw the bridge. But I took out some of the things. I put some boats. I said no because I don't want people to think they're sailing and going somewhere else for a happy event. I think I want the calmness of the water. So I took out a lot of things. I had some deductions in this painting to arrive in the concept. And that is the beauty of watercolor. And then the band-aids, on both sides. One side, you only have one to indicate the origin of Ukraine. And on the left side, with the two band-aids, which is the medical tape, if you get hurt or a child gets hurt, that's sort of universal of care.
Yes.
So I wanted the non-balance, because it's not balanced for now. People are moving and they need help. They need volunteers and need care to save humanity and lives. And that became my inspiration. And then, of course, things gotten worse for Ukraine. Not just for Ukraine, I think for some countries as well.
Yeah. But you also said that there is optimism and hope. And how can you elaborate on that?
The bridge alone gives hope. I think one of the things about the logic of the bridge, as you know, or river, once you cross halfway, then there's an optimism. You're almost there. To go back again, the amount of time and energy would be about the same. So, and you know what's at the back where you came from.
Yeah.
But you don't know what's ahead of you. But you have a greater hope and chances of being saved on the other end of the bridge. And also, because I'm an architect, so a bridge is supposed to be balanced. So I think in a funny way, if you've gone through halfway and the bridge hasn't fallen yet, I think you're gonna survive the other half.
Okay.
In a funny way. So
yeah. No, it's a very nice painting, and thank you for that, because that's a lovely accent during those obviously turbulent times for Ukraine, and we are very happy that this painting could be at our exhibition. And as you said, that people will be crossing to the unknown, and that's how we can go towards our next painting. I mean, your next painting, which is Crossing to the Unknown, which tells the story of your sorry, I'm just gonna share the screen. It's a bit okay, just there it is, which tells the story of your own migration story, so and your families. So we see the journey of a migrant. We see some technology. We see the modes of transport: train, planes, a boat, a ferry, but also some other technological things, some laboratory elements, and also currency. So could you tell me what were the most important aspects for you? And did you make the decision to migrate? Was it made for you? I know that you mentioned your mom, and how this influenced your journey across, may I just say, from Philippines to America?
yes, I was born in the Philippines, and my mother was a student, and she earned the Fulbright scholarship in the United States. Now, Fulbright scholarship is given by the government under the name of a senator in the United States. So everything is just about free, but it's a very hard competition to be qualified. They only take, I think, 2 students every year in each country.
Amazing.
And sometimes they don't take anybody because of the very high standards of acceptance. So my mother was a great influence for me to migrate in the United States. And it is solely my decision that I took responsibility to take the chance and find out. But I always thought that I could always go back. But maybe not, because we don't really know what the future holds.
That's true. And could I just ask you, how old were you when you migrated?
I think I was like 20, 21, 22.
Oh, okay, so you were old enough to make your own decision. Yeah.
Old enough to drink alcohol. Well,
yeah, that too.
But I thought that the decision was very hard because it becomes tentative. You know, I changed my minds a lot of times. But I think the important thing through migration as an artist, and I didn't consider myself an artist back then, but I thought that the future in America or other parts of Europe would be greater than a small country called the Philippines. And it's true, because a bigger country has more industry, and I've seen this, and they have more people. Even though a big country may be big, if they don't have enough population, then they're just big, but they don't really function big. So I took my chances. The reason I put a lot of kinds of transportation in the painting, because this depict the mobility of technology in terms of migration. You know, of course, airplanes, and then of course you have the trains. But the family in the middle, almost in the middle, it's a representation of my family, my mom. My dad was also accepted to study law in America, but he didn't go because he has to support his family. I mean, his own family in the Philippines.
Yes.
He was accepted to study law. So that is my expression of a family, of having one kid. That's me. I'm small, even though I'm small in the picture, but I had these big dreams. But it carries a lot of sacrifices. I knew that because my mother told me. Now, the graphics or representation of laboratories, the dollar, the money, the technology, I think that's the migration of sort of migration of reason for me and for other people. For example, I just came back from Seattle 3 days ago, and there were a lot of younger generations from all over the world.
Yeah.
30,000 of them, somebody told me, are working inside Microsoft. And then they are recruiting another 30,000 around the world.
Wow.
To be outside of Seattle. I think they have the office in Bellevue, which is part of Seattle. So I thought it was almost the same reason why I came here. Not entirely, but I think the greener pasture, the future, which is unknown, but I think I have a chance of getting better. And to have that balance of the direction that would go. I think if you have balance, it's easier to decide which way to go. But if you don't have balance, then you're tilting in one side. It's going to be hard to see the other side.
Yeah, it is hard. But also the people in your painting, they are very small. Is it because of the fact that you traveled a great distance? Or is it because everything is kind of, it's a little bit heavy on you and on everyone, because obviously you have to leave your family or part of your family, you have to leave some of your friends, you have to leave your old life. Is it because of that, or is it because that there are so many other things and people are always like very small in confrontation?
I think it's small, but I think it's a good representation.
Oh yes, of course.
I think the graphics, the plane are equally important as the people or the family. The clouds, the gray and the purple and the whites and the grays and the blacks, even in the sea, represents the wariness of a person, of the unknown, the risk, and possibly the negativity that may happen. But in that also, with the dark grays, dark clouds, it carries a sacrifice for me in terms of discrimination in America. I think one of the things I experienced, because I don't look like the most common people, that, they're whites, and if they're black, I'm not black. And also the language is so important. If I remember so sadly, many times, if I don't speak clearly, people tend not to listen to me. I am of less importance, or my thoughts are less of importance. And that's very critical in terms of discrimination and identity.
Yeah. No, the language is really important. I mean, it happened to me in France as well. If I tried to speak French at the beginning, and obviously I had to speak really well, and I didn't. And yes, I did. I did suffer the consequences. My questions weren't answered, and I was getting frustrated. So language is very important. But at our exhibition, we have a video recording of an artist who says that she lives not in another country, but in a language. And that's why your recording resonated with me, because you talk about the language, and you say that even if you speak a language after a while, or after you had a course, or however, you still have the mannerism, you still have certain habits or certain demeanor that actually ousts you as an outsider, as a foreigner. So that's what you experienced essentially.
Yes, and
Yeah.
there's another component I experienced in language. The language of speaking and the language of writing of the local. There is a psychology behind it. It's not just because you know how to pronounce the words. It's not because they understand you or what you say every word. The psychology behind it is more of the culture of the locals and how they think of the words and language in their heads. That I think that becomes the understanding. It's almost like an apple or an orange. Not until you eat the orange and apple, that's the only time you could say, well, it's a sweet apple. It's an apple? You said it's an apple. Yeah, it's an apple.
No, I think that was a very interesting point, because you think sometimes you go to another country, you are a migrant, okay, you have to somehow adapt and I don't know, just try to adapt in society. Oh, it's enough if I speak the language. But as you said, is sometimes it's not enough, because obviously a language can be completely different. I mean, American is obviously completely different to British English, but there's also in America there are completely different aspects of American English, and the way how people communicate. So until you actually absorb all that, you might be still treated as an outsider, or you might still feel a little bit, misplaced, as I suppose.
Yes, I remember, even though I said the right words, but maybe different psychology or different accent. There's a common phrase here that, again, my experience. I stayed in Chicago, Illinois for a long time. Of course, I traveled. They will always say, this is my experience. He sounds funny,
Okay.
or yeah, he talks funny. But I don't
Okay.
really talk funny.
No.
I just different.
Oh, I see. And it happened to you on many occasions.
Many,
Mm.
and even ordering for food. I had a different food because
Oh, okay.
you gotta be careful if you say yes or they say yes. May
I
have a
see.
different meaning. And I think also in art, it's also different. When I was expressing my paintings to some
Yes.
artists and also professors and friends, they don't quite understand.
Mm.
I have to add more twist or example. But I think things are now different. I think it's much better, much better.
But I know that the times were difficult, and you miss a lot. You miss your country, you miss your culture, and also food and your friends. But in retrospect, I know that you said in the recording that it already happened, so you can undo it. You can't go back in the past. But would you still make this decision, or in retrospect, would you say that it was too hard, or you wouldn't?
I at the moment I won't change my mind, even if I'm allowed to change my mind or the events, even for once. I don't think I will change it because it could be something even worse.
Mm.
I believe that there's no guarantee in anything. If I go back to the Philippines back then, I may fulfill a lot of things, but it may not be the same. One
Mm.
thing for sure is what I got now is what I have.
Yeah. And could you tell me about you as an artist throughout all these years? Did you start painting in the Philippines, or did you start painting in America?
I, I,
Painting, sorry.
I did start painting when I was, of course, in school.
Mm.
And then in school, I think one of my teachers said you should join a contest. So they call this on the spot painting contest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So what it really meant in French, now I know, it's called plein air and plein air, which is on location,
Yeah.
meaning painting in front of the subject.
Yeah.
Even though now I don't believe in those things, as I grew into the painting of plein air,
Okay.
I, I but I was one of them that I would copy exactly how it is, but the light would change, the wind will blow the trees.
Mm.
So I believe that realism doesn't exist. I think it only exists. Let me take that in a way of clarifying. It only exists at the moment you're
Yeah.
doing it. And that moment cannot even be captured by the camera. It cannot. And also, what's the importance of realism? I always question that. I always question because if you would slice the time
Mm.
of realism every second the leaves will turn one side, the wind will blow, the light of the sun or the moon will come down in a different way. So
Yeah.
I know it's important for many artists, but I still don't find the logic of realism. I'm not against realism, but I think modified realism is probably important. Again, it's why not make another one?
Yeah.
I cannot change nature. We cannot.
No.
So, so I did a painting in Seattle, of the Seattle Public Library.
Okay.
This is so fresh in my mind because it was 3 days ago, and I was doing on location. I was doing the plein air, and I said to myself, I'm not going to follow the whole building or the whole form of the building. Because if you've seen the pictures of the Seattle Public Library, it's got this sort of a strange shape.
Okay.
And yet there's a pattern on the walls or the skin of the building. There's a pattern of diagonal components or diagonal frames of the glass that makes the building. It's all X's.
Okay.
I wish I could show the picture.
Yes, I think I can show the picture. I have to share the screen, sorry. Sorry, it takes a little bit of time. There it is. So this is the Seattle
Yes.
Library.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's the elevators they're cut off. You can't have an elevator from the first floor to go all the way up to the 10th floor because of the shape of the floor.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go. So what happens? You have to transfer from first floor to the third floor to the
Wow.
sixth floor. But it's okay.
That's a mixture.
It's a mixture, but
Labyrinth.
it is. So if you also I found out the restrooms are not in every floors. So you have to transfer every time, and hopefully everything works on your way to the bathroom.
No, it looks like an amazing building. Yeah.
The architect is Cesarem Ceballosem
Okay.
from Holland, but I think he achieved something beautiful in this building because of the diagonal. If you see the diagonal frames of the windows,
Yes.
so that depicts the orientation of the elevators. So I think he wants the passenger or the person using the library to explore the other spaces of the library.
Yeah.
Explore the books, explore the reading areas, and enjoy it. Instead of that's just vertical, up and down, you're done after 2 seconds.
Yes, I have, I think, another picture. So, oh, here. This is it's really lovely.
It is, yeah. And
This is from inside, I think, when you go towards the entrance, isn't it?
yeah, it's from the inside. So the reflection of light is so majestic. It's like
incredible.
a jewelry box or jewelry around you, wrap around your neck and your eyes. No, because of the sun.
Fantastic. No, this is really beautiful. But could you tell me a little bit about when you migrated? How did this decision change you as an artist? Did you mature more quickly, or did you have more inspiration after that, or how was it for you? Or did you paint in certain way and then you decided to completely change the way of painting?
I think it gave me like a gateway of a lot of artists I don't even know. Not just the artists, but their work. I would recognize the work in many ways, but not the name. I was thinking that the name wasn't important. I think the work, for me back then, the work's more important than the names. And those are great influences, and it made me a lot of inspiration and opened up a lot of possibilities to experiment other ways to paint. in a great experience. I know if I was in the Philippines, it would be limited because the environment is limited. And there are great architects and artists in the Philippines, but I thought migrating in America, it gave me a relief of being worryingness and then also some gray hair. So art was indeed a therapy for me. I did experiments. I learned about how to use the tools.
Okay.
For example, salt. The use
Yes.
of salt. A lot of people think it's easy, and also sometimes on the paper I would fold the paper
Yeah.
and then paint over on the paper, and then I would put some salt or fruits like heat, so it will collect. It's almost a straight line, but it becomes part of art.
Okay.
So that I learned in many ways. I also use construction materials. For example, the tape for the drywall.
Yes.
If you have damage for drywall, it's called the mesh. So I've used that in my paintings. I enjoy it. It's like a toy. I get excited.
So you experiment a lot. You started to experiment a lot
I-
more.
A lot because I see something beautiful, and I also find something very useful. Why throw it away?
Yeah, of
And then
course.
of course we have the climate change, and I use a lot of brown bags to paint. And people think I don't have money to buy paper, but it's okay.
No, it's very good what you're doing, because obviously there is so much waste in the world, and we don't want people to waste. We want people to waste as little as possible, because obviously the environment doesn't need more plastic or bags or anything out there being thrown away. So
Yeah,
what you do is great. If you can incorporate in your art, it's fantastic.
yeah. Especially plastics on some food coverings because
Yeah.
I use that a lot. I don't want my sushi to have plastic in the fish. I'm just being funny. So I really use a lot of materials. I use
Yeah.
sandpaper
Okay.
to grind the paper of the painting. I know people don't use that. I'm not sure. To grind it. It's beautiful. My gosh. I'm not hurting the paper.
No, of course.
I'm improving the paper, but there's always the risk of maybe the painting might be ugly or different. But art is subjective, very subjective.
Oh yes,
It's, it's,
definitely.
it's only ugly if people think it's ugly, if they don't like it. And I remember Carl Jung, the famous philosopher.
Yes.
He said something like, in relation to art, most people will judge right away because they don't want to think.
Yes, they don't want to think, or they just don't know, and it's quicker for them and easier because they might be afraid of the unknown. That's
Yeah,
also what happens in our exhibition. I mean, we are trying to show all the stories and all the situations for people to get more familiar with, and for people to understand that yes, you can fear something that you don't know, but you shouldn't, because many times it can actually teach you something good. It can
yes.
show you a lot of possibilities, and it can open your and broaden your horizons and open up your mind. So I think it's important to fight against that fear, and obviously the snap judgment. That's not good for anyone, especially with art, because you never know. You look at art and you think, oh no, I don't like that. But why don't you like it? I mean, look at it properly. Have a like, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes to ponder upon it and just to get something out of it. If you still don't like it, fine. But yeah, as you said, snap judgments aren't great, because obviously they are not helping anyone, and the artist always wants to portray something, always wants to give us something. So it's really important to accept it and to think and to
and
analyze.
analyze and experience it.
Yeah.
And I I think the most important thing is to experience it. And I'm gonna borrow a quotation from Rothko, a famous
Yes.
painter, and
Sorry,
also
you said Rovko, yeah? Sorry. Because it was a
Rothko
break. Yeah, okay.
from New York, and also a bit of Picasso.
Okay.
I think they said I don't know the exact words, but it's very close. You don't look at art, you experience art. Very
Yeah,
simple.
that's very good. Yeah.
Because I think once you experience it, you don't have to stay too long.
Mm.
I mean, there's something looking within yourself, not outside, through yourself, through art.
Yeah. Of course. No, experiencing it is really important. But while we speak about experiences, I just wanted to ask you, what makes you survive the difficult times? You've been abroad for so long, so obviously you have many friends, you have your family around you now, because I've heard in your recording that your siblings also joined you in America. But what helps you the most to survive, apart from art? Because obviously art is part of your life now, but what else would you
I
say?
think one of the remedies, I would say a remedy, because I I thought I had some imbalance of handling, because I want to go home back then, or just quit and go somewhere else. I think going to the library,
Mm.
going to theaters, that keeps my mind away. But nature, it doesn't tell a story. It tells a story, but it tells a story within yourself, with me.
Mm.
So I always go to the rivers, or lakefront,
Mm.
mountains, and that became sort of a remedy, to a solution to those kinds of problems. There's something in nature that there's optimism.
Yeah, and it calms you down. It always calms me down.
It calms me down, and I remember I always see something different. In spring, of course, the trees will change, and this started when I was smaller with my grandfather.
Mm.
Every morning, I would see the tomato tree. My tomato tree
Yes.
happens to be in the porch. That every morning it would just change. It looks happy.
Amazing.
It would bear fruits, and I would sketch it. I didn't have a camera back then. I was so small. Well, so
Well, you had a camera by sketching.
I have a camera. So that also became the beginnings. And I always believe in the evolution. I think everything is a system. As an
Yes.
artist, as a scientist, as an art historian, it's all evolutionary. Technology, of course, it's almost like the wheels of a bicycle or a car.
Mm.
If it rotates, it's part of the evolution or revolution, and you keep moving.
Yeah.
And if you stop and you go back, it's still an evolution, but in a different direction.
Yes. It's
So I
true.
believe in that kind of optimism, that everything will change, as we all know.
Yeah, of course. And I also wanted to quickly to show the painting that you've made of your mother.
Oh yeah.
because you spoke of her a little bit, and this is the scholar will reach the top. Yeah, am I right?
Yes.
Scholar excels to the top. I'm sorry, scholar excels to the top, and this is depiction of your mom, Lourdes Maramba Ceballos.
Yes. Ceballos when she married my father.
Yes, yes, of course.
So the whole idea here is the inspiration of laughter and comedy.
Yeah.
And because I don't want a sad painting. I want the painting to be of a purpose. Either there's a message or relevancy or advocacy, or it should be funny. It will make people laugh. Hopefully it will make people laugh. So I painted her like a nerd. Like, a nerd is a person who is, studying, book, and nerds change the world. Technology is driven by nerds, scientists,
Oh yes.
economists. So I thought I should put books on her head, but don't mess up her hair.
Exactly. So it's just part of the hairdo.
Part of the hairdo, and it's blowing with the air, with the wind. And I thought I should leave the middle part as a flesh, but different, meaning simple. It's not the important thing, it's more the backdrop. But the color is more humane, it's warm, it's more natural, and it's not glaring for many people. And the one at the bottom is the result of the mind. Or, if you study too much, too long, hopefully you become a nerd. Well, you are becoming a nerd. And there's a lot of discoveries in sciences. And so, but also you make more money now. And so that was my inspiration for my mother. And I thought I should put an antenna, which I did. If you see the antenna,
and you also wrote that this artwork maybe should be called Nerds Change the World.
yes. Because I think intelligent people, they spend so much time.
Definitely.
I will name some names, maybe Einstein, Tesla. They may have gotten the Nobel Prize accolades, but they were probably spending so much time in experiments done in their families.
Yes, of course. Yeah. But for your mom, was it a difficult decision when she got the scholarship? Did she talk about this? I mean, was it very hard for her to just leave like that?
It was very hard, and she always tells me many times, you gotta be careful what you ask for, because she tells me many times when the moment came, when the letter of acceptance came.
Yes.
Now she has to essentially get the tickets. She has to pack up and leave. And that's very hard because she will leave. She's the only daughter. I mean,
only child. Yeah.
Child. So it's very difficult to leave. My grandfather, her father and mother, and it's very hard. It's the human factor. I think she said the human faculties comes into play, and what is important, what is real is real.
Yeah,
this is real.
But, yeah, exactly. But did she ever tell you that she regretted any of, I mean, the decision, or she was happy with what came next? Did she have any doubts about it later, or?
I think she was happy that she did the travel and the schooling. But she had some difficulty too. She's a woman, of course, a real woman. And a woman in America back then was also very tough.
Okay.
And she's also tiny. Maybe 5'3", 5'4".
Yeah.
And I think it's also discrimination on the heights of people.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot as well. Yeah. It's true.
But on the painting, I want to make it happy and humorous. It's always a risk, but the painting may not say the things you want to say, but you gotta try it.
Yeah, but she did tell you that you should, study and always reach for other things. So I think you achieved that here. I think she would be happy about that. The portrayal.
Very, very, very tightly, yes. I would say yes, because she encouraged me to write a book with my sketches together with my mentor in school
Yeah.
in Chicago, Jack Hartray, who's also an architect. He became the dean and also one of the prominent architects in Chicago. So I still have the book.
Wow!
It's not published yet, but
Fantastic.
hopefully this year will be published.
Well, hopefully, yes.
I'm working hard on it, but the important thing about the book is not really the book. It's the sales, the contribution to donation to help the poor. So I've identified to help people who has cancer. It's going to be on donation.
Yeah.
For children.
That's lovely.
So I'm not saying I don't need the money, but I think some people need more.
Yeah.
And I think my art would like to contribute. It's not me. I think the art is talking to me. My artwork says I gotta do something more. So publishing the book and the proceeds, the money goes to charity.
Oh, that's so lovely. Well, let us know when it's published. So it would be lovely to see it as well.
So I'm very excited. So.
Yeah, the congratulations, and hopefully we will see it soon. And I also wanted to ask you about the other painting that you've done, the labyrinth for refugees and volunteers. And could you tell us a little bit about this, the idea behind it?
The idea behind it is it's almost a connection or a series of the bridge, the Ukraine bridge to Exodus, which was shown earlier. So this is one chapter of sort of the whole ongoing news. So the labyrinth has to do with the shape of the flower. You can't really find your way in or out. Maybe you can, but labyrinth is defined as almost like finding your way out like a maze. But also, I thought it has to do something with the brain.
Yeah.
But if I would draw a brain, it would look too ugly. But I thought the labyrinth together with the rose is a beautiful combination of depicting art, especially in times of the Ukrainian episode of bombings.
Yeah.
And the two lines, if you look at the lines on
Yes.
the side and the one in the bottom, and then there's a point they don't meet somewhere down in the right side. So the lines represent the borders of countries like Poland, one of the countries that line up towards the Ukrainian border, who have a lot of refugees. So, but we're trying to find a way to get to refuge, to save them, to save themselves, the lives, the children, and also I think to save the identity, the future of Ukraine, of humanity as well. It's very critical that it all starts in the brain of a person who makes a decision, and the brain influences a lot of people who are afraid to be threatened. And I thought this is a form of migration.
Yes.
So the lines also, I made a folded portion of the paper.
Yeah.
and I put salt.
Okay.
So the salt created the gray.
Yes.
Well, I added some gray, but I think the salt dissolved the water in the color to make the gray, the indentation, which becomes the border.
No, but it's so true. I mean, the decision that can influence so many people, and this is a horrible influence, obviously, starts with the brain of someone, yes. And in this case, obviously, we know who that is, who that was. But it's also very, very true that, and very nice of you that you celebrate those volunteers who help refugees from Ukraine, but not just Ukraine, also on the border with Belarus, sorry, because these people are doing a tremendous job and tremendous work, and because of artists like you as well, we can actually represent it, and we can educate other people and show them that there are many people who are doing something, who are helping people who escape who are being forced to migrate, and they have to escape from their own country unwillingly, because we left on our own accord, but some people had to do it. And this is the real tragedy. But also I hope that, and there is a hope as well, I guess, in this painting, that like the Exodus Bridge, that they will be able to come back. I mean, those who would like, that they will be able to come back and kind of rebuild their own lives, if that's possible. I hope.
Yeah, I hope. And then I think the opening in the bottom, it's both a gate. It could go in and out, but the borders are sort of temporary in a way, because you could take the plane if you want
Yes.
to move back. But again, this is just an expression of what a mind can do. And as you get closer to almost the middle,
Yeah.
it's a flower.
Yeah.
It's a sign of hope, of new petals, new flourishing flower and colors. And I had some red for life. I mean, as optimism for life.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful, and I also like that it's kind of like a labyrinth and a maze, but at the same time, as you said, it's a bit more intricate, and it can be also a brain of someone, yeah, and that there is a gate. I like in your paintings the fact that there is always hope and some optimism, because obviously it's not all doom and gloom, because even people who are forced to migrate, they also get the help, but also I've heard recently that for people, for refugees, but also for migrants, I mean, any type of migrants, the little gestures count a lot, and the little gestures are very important. And even if you don't think that by doing so you are doing something huge, or like you printing your book to help with sick children, you are doing so much already. And if everybody did something, it would be so much better, and we would help so many more people. So that's fantastic, and that's why I like in your art that there is always optimism and always something to look forward, hope, and for better future.
Well, thank you for your kind words. I do really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just the result of my good teachers.
No,
Without my,
but also your own story, your own experiences, and your life also shaped you as an artist. So it's also yourself that you should be grateful to.
I think it did, and one of the best things that's been helping me is meditation
Okay.
through yoga. Most of these paintings you've shown,
Mm.
I meditate before I start my paintings, and then I have music always. For the most part, I have music.
Yeah.
I usually start with Chopin,
Classical music. Okay.
classical music, and then I will change to Mozart or maybe jazz after the 1 through,
Yeah.
and then that sort of will develop, and and then I'll probably switch to Miles Davis or go back to Debussy, or go back
Yes.
again to Bach or Vivaldi. Depending if it's a landscape, expect me to play Vivaldi. If it's landscape, it's
So the landscape decides who you're gonna play.
yes, yeah. I think there's a connection, and the connection is the inspiration. Yes,
of course.
it is the inspiration, and maybe some of my paintings are titled from music. Some, not all, but yeah, there is a connection with my paintings and music and meditation, the quietness,
Yeah.
the clearness, the connection of the two hands is the connection. Now we have five fingers, all the components. I think it's very important. I think it's significant to experience that process and not to expect the result of the painting. For me, the result is just one thing, because you never know how people will like it, or maybe not even like it. But my experience as an artist in that very moment, that very, very moment, is very critical for me.
Of course.
And I believe that connection will result into the painting. And the viewer will see it, hopefully, it will give life into the painting and into the viewer and into the museum and into wherever it takes. It's got its own life.
Yeah, but I think now I understand why there is so much hope and optimism in your paintings as you meditate and play classical music. Yes, I
Yes.
understand now. It definitely helps to portray this, to kind of paint, like to take it from you and put it on the canvas or paper or whatever you paint on. Yeah, definitely. It's shown in the paintings. But could you tell me, because we spoke before briefly before our meeting today, about your painting in Alaska, that you went to nature and the brush guided you. How can you just elaborate on that?
Now, I can show it to you if you want, or I can,
It's finished. Yes, please.
well, and it's probably 90% finished, because if I add more, it will distort the essence of the moment of the painting.
Okay.
So I would explain to you. I'll maybe get a brush. Oh my God, I have a brush. So I'll just get one big brush. So what I did, so of course I was on the table. So again, I did watercolor. So I will just leave the brush by itself touching the paper. And
Okay.
the waves of the boat, it does its own. But I have to move this very slowly. You have to be patient. And I said, well, I have plenty of time. I'm on the boat. and I keep thinking to myself, I hope I don't have to do it again. Because I have to do like 20 times for the whole paper. But I have the results. I may have, it's not here.
Okay.
It took me about 30 seconds to run to my other office and get it.
Yeah, okay.
If you like.
Yeah, maybe we would like to see it. Yeah, if you can.
Okay, so hold on.
Okay, we will hold on.
Okay, let's go. But so this is also
Yes.
a painting on here, on about blue pollution. It's called blue pollution.
Okay.
This also won in one of the competitions in, I think in Baltimore or North Carolina.
Very nice. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm gonna get the other paintings.
Yes. And in the meantime, I would just like to show our website. And
Okay.
There it is. And this is our website. And if you click on entry, you can obviously enter Kunstmatrix and see the exhibition where Cesar's works are on as well. And please, under the poster, there are some instructions for a smoother experience. So this is really important. These are our patrons. But it's really important that you read the instructions because the platform, if you use it for the first time, might be a little bit tricky. So, yeah. But apart from Cesar's works, we have a lot of other artists, and we have a lot of different mediums. We have video recordings, we have audio recordings, we have many stories of migrants, people who moved abroad, like Cesar, and just they answer our questions, and from these answers comes out the story of how they felt. It's more about the emotions, how they feel with the decision and in another country. But also we have paintings, we have photographs, and we have many other things. Also fragments of the book, The Great Tide. So this exhibition is about different aspects of migration. So from forced migration through the economic, although we don't kind of categorize it anymore, to migration by choice. So in the whole exhibition, you can find all aspects. And apart from Cesar's works, there are also other works and audio recordings. So please do visit our exhibition. Welcome back, Cesar.
I'm still trying to find that I mean, I have found it but I will show you some. Uh, it's probably in my other bag, but so
Oh, wow.
so this is the cruise ship. Again, it's not completely finished,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then I have bigger ones, which this is the one I folded. Again, it's not completely finished.
Okay. And what's this about?
This is the on the right side with the sun is the waves
Ah, yes, yes.
of the sea, and I use the fork to make the
Fantastic.
indexation. And then on the other side with the black sort of charcoal pencil, I use rubber bands
Okay.
to represent the islands in Alaska. And I drew around the rubber bands. I dropped the rubber bands randomly. I didn't arrange it. I just dropped it and drew
Okay.
around it. So you can
Very
see
nice.
the islands.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. It's phenomenal that you can use so many materials and different tools in your paintings.
Well, I guess, like you said, if you're not fearful, you just have to experiment. But I think this is also a delightful experience when I sketched one of the sculpture in Seattle by
If you could show it a bit from a bit away. Yeah, a bit away.
I'm
Yes,
sorry,
like this. Yeah, yeah.
by
Okay.
not done yet. It's just only a sketch. So if you recognize the building with the library,
Ah,
but
yes, yes, yes. Okay.
so I left it small. So it's not a well, it's important, but it's not as important.
Yeah.
But the shape of the sculpture, I think it's fantastic. It's very inspirational.
Yeah.
But I still have to
Very
find
nice.
the. I apologize. I have to. I think it's somewhere in my table. I have to find the painting with the brush. I was
It's
saying.
okay. But you showed us so many paintings. How do you define your work? How do you define your artworks?
I think most people say it's contemporary figurative.
Contemporary figurative, okay.
Yeah, of course it's abstract, but yet you could see the shape that makes the form of an object, a building, or a landscape.
Yes.
And that's how they define it. But the other works I've been working on.
Sorry, there was a question I just got. That's why I asked. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. So I have another painting here, which is for advocacy to represent or maybe help defend the abuses of mining in the Amazon.
Yeah.
That affects the indigenous people. So
if you could move it, yes, a little bit more. Yeah.
it's a river.
Yeah,
It's a river of tears.
Oh. Oh, wow.
All done in watercolor.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's 20 by 30 inches.
I mean, it probably looks huge in the camera, but it's quite big, yeah. It's really nice.
So it's an advocacy for, the illegal logging, the illegal, mining.
Yeah.
Large companies are making money. But I thought about when I was working on this, in relation to migration, I came up with a term, deductive migration. Deductive, meaning the local people, the natives,
Yes.
indigenous people cannot afford to move. However, their environment is changed. The
In that sense, yes.
The mountains are gone. Well, it was chopped off. The birds have flown away. The fish, you cannot fish in the rivers because it's contaminated with either plastic or
Yeah.
the industrial revolution. So I just named it as deductive migration.
But that's a very good point. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, you are completely right, because we always think about migrating people, that they move from one part to another. But what about these people who everything changes around them, who are there, everything changes around them, and they can't move. They just stay in the same place, but it's not the same place anymore. This is fantastic. Yes.
Even though you could always say it's a migration, but it just looks different.
Yeah, it just looks different. Yeah, but it's sort of migration, exactly.
It is a migration, and it's all how we define it. Does that the definition of importance, or maybe not? It's another thing that I thought that in the process of you doing your painting, or in the migration painting, which is a theme. It was quite different. People don't have a chance to move around or go around, or something's been taken away. For example, if you have a fruit on the table you're about to eat, and somebody takes it away.
Yeah.
So you're left with this water. You don't have, but you're still here.
Yeah. But that's amazing what you just said. I mean, not amazing in a way that, because obviously it's terrible for the people, but it's a part of migration that you don't think about, talking about normal aspects of migrations, but it is a migration, because also at our exhibition we have migration inside yourself, or from one part of the body to another. So I guess this falls into category of not moving physically, but moving because everything around is moving. Yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you for that. That's very interesting.
Well, thank you. But that's also thank you to you and to your team. It has to do with the result of the process of the theme migration, which is your museum, WMA, had orchestrated.
Yes, thank you.
More, through the process, I become a better artist. Even though I'm not better than any artist. I don't believe in, well, for me, I don't believe any, this me, I don't believe in any artist should be better than anyone because art is free. And it's very, very subjective. It's how our brains were trained. Maybe back in school, maybe because we go to a lot of museums. And so that influences our likes and dislikes.
Yeah. But yes, as you said, every artist is different. So obviously, we are going back to the snap judgment. We shouldn't do snap judgments. And exactly with migration is the same story. You can't just judge migrants because they're migrating from one part to another just because they are migrants. Everybody is their own person, is individual, and all the stories are so different, and they are from a perspective of one person. So like your own story and the stories that you're trying to portray in your paintings as well. So that's
and it's my painting is evolutionary. I mean, again, like I said, it has to do with a good example would be a landscape, a park. So you have a park, you hire an architect, a landscape architect, a gardener to make your garden in the house or in the park beautiful. I said, oh my God, it's so beautiful. But if you don't water those plants, it will probably die. And yet, in nature, when you go to Alaska, you go to, Red Rock, or you go to a lot of parks that nature, or a big park that there's no landscape, no design. It's nature by itself. The trees are falling down, and yet we say, "Oh my God, it's also beautiful."
Yeah, it's
but
true.
You don't have to water the plants, but it's beautiful. So
it's very true.
It's a balance of acceptance, I think. There's always the balance of something different and something that's sort of done by nature.
Yeah. And I just wanted to ask at the end, because you have a solo exhibition in Rome this year. Do you want to tell us about it?
Well, thank you for mentioning it. So it's the solo exhibition is sponsored by the International Academy of Apollo Dionysian, which is in connection with the University of Rome III, and sponsored by Regionale or Regione Lazio, Regional Lazio.
Lazio Regione.
Lazio. And also, of course, a lot of institutions around Italy and also America, around the world, that sponsors the not just the exhibition, but also the contest. The reason I got the exhibition because my painting won first prize in Rome, in Canale Monterano di Roma, through the Accademia, out of 786 paintings around the world.
Wow, congratulations.
Well, thank you, but not me, the painting.
Well, yeah, but
it's not all me. And I'm shocked. My God. It's also watercolor. And it won. Usually sculpture wins, oil, acrylic, mixed media. So I believe that the watercolor is always under the underdog.
Yeah.
So
I love watercolors myself.
Oh yeah, I think we should all paint watercolor to experience it. So they offered me to do an exhibition last year, I think they're happy with it. I have to do 20 paintings in 10 days.
Wow.
And the painting won't even dry because Rome kept raining. So my God.
Well, good luck with the exhibition then. It's very exciting. And yeah, sorry.
And then, so they invited me again for this year. For a solo exhibition, it's going to be in August 21st to September 5th.
Yeah. So if somebody is in Rome at that time, please go and see solo exhibition of Cesar, because it's a lot of fantastic works as usual. So thank you, Cesar, for today, for the conversation. Thank you for joining us at your place. It's morning time. We have the evening time, but I hope everyone enjoyed our fantastic talk with our migrant artist. And we invite you to our other talks. The next one will be on the 31st of May, but that talk will be in Polish, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And well, thank you, Cesar, so much again for taking part in our exhibition, for doing the talk. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to see your perspectives and your ideas.
Well, thank you. My pleasure is mine. And of course, I saw the exhibit. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
It becomes very emotional. I've experienced a lot, and most of the exhibitors have done too much sacrifices. I mean, it's not just emotional, also physical.
Yeah.
It's almost like a torment in many ways. But again, that is the beauty of art. And well, I'm thankful we could express this in this kind of platform. It's important. I think we're writing our own history of some sort.
I think so too. And please do visit our exhibition, Migracje and Migrations. So thank you, Cesar, and good night, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.